We live in a world overflowing with distractions. From the moment we wake up, we're bombarded with notifications, opinions, headlines, and noise. And if we're not careful, we'll spend the entire day being busy, but never productive. Doing a lot, yet achieving very little. The truth is, one of the greatest thieves of progress isn't laziness, but misdirected effort. It's not that we aren't working, it's that we're working on the wrong things. There's a subtle danger in being occupied with the trivial. It feels productive. It gives the illusion of motion. You check your phone, answer an email, respond to a comment, scroll through a feed, and call it a day. But ask yourself, what changed? What did you actually build? What progress did you make on your real goals? Most people don't stop to ask that question because facing the answer would be uncomfortable. But growth never comes from comfort. It comes from clarity and honesty. Every day, you're given a limited amount of energy and time. You don't get to control how much time you have in a lifetime, but you do get to decide what you do with each day. And if you spend your hours wrapped up in things that don't matter, things that don't improve your mind, your health, your finances, your relationships, or your future, then you're robbing yourself. You're sacrificing what could be for what's easy, what's distracting, and what's popular. There's a kind of discipline that comes with asking, is this the best use of my time right now? And not just once in a while, but often. It means evaluating your habits, your conversations, your routines. It means turning off the television when it's just background noise. It means walking away from gossip, from arguments that go nowhere, from checking your phone every 5 minutes hoping something exciting happened. Most of the time, it hasn't. And even if it has, is it really more important than your go? People don't usually lose their potential all at once. They lose it in small, daily decisions. A few wasted minutes here, an unimportant meeting there, a weekend spent in avoidance rather than preparation. Bit by bit, the future they once dreamed of slips further away, not because they weren't capable, but because they didn't protect their time. To protect your time, you have to value it. You have to see it as more than just a block of hours to get through, but as an opportunity to become more than you were yesterday. There's no shortage of people willing to waste your time for you. Advertisers, gossipers, toxic friends, and even your own inner doubts. They'll all show up every day to steal a piece of your attention, but they can only succeed if you let them. One of the smartest things you can do is identify what truly matters in your life. What are the top 3 things that will make a meaningful difference in your year? What's going to improve your life in a lasting way? When you know those answers, decision-making becomes simpler. You start to recognize what belongs in your schedule and what doesn't. You stop giving first-class time to second-class priorities. Time is not just money, it's life. You can earn more money, but you can't earn more time. And yet, people protect their money with budgets, with plans, with strategies, but their time, they give that away freely as if it were endless. It's not. Every yes you give to something unimportant is a no to something that could transform your life. You'll never be able to eliminate all distractions. The world is too noisy for that, but you can develop focus. You can train yourself to see the difference between motion and progress, between urgency and importance. And once you do, you begin to move with intention. You stop chasing everything that glitters and start building something that lasts. It won't always be easy. The trivial things are designed to be tempting. They're quick, they're entertaining, they're convenient. But convenience is often the enemy of excellence. If you want to rise above average, you have to live above average. That starts with how you use your time. Not once a year, but every single day. Every time you say yes to something, you're also saying no to something else. That's the part people often forget. Time is a limited resource, and every commitment you make draws from the same 24 hours. If you're not careful, your schedule becomes a long list of obligations you never really chose, filled with things that don't matter, while the things that truly do get pushed aside. It feels good to say yes. People appreciate it. It makes you seem agreeable, helpful, reliable. But if you're always saying yes to others, you can end up saying no to yourself. No to your goals. No to rest. No to growth. No to your priorities. That's not selflessness, that's self-neglect. The need to please others can quietly steal years from your life. Not because people are trying to take advantage of you. Most aren't. but because you haven't drawn the line. You haven't decided that your time is valuable enough to protect. And until you do, you'll continue to be pulled in 100 directions that lead you nowhere. There's a big difference between being busy and being effective. You can fill your calendar with back-to-back meetings, social events, errands, and favors for other people, and still feel like you're standing still. Progress requires focus, and focus requires the ability to choose what matters most over what's simply available or expected. That means making hard choices. That means saying no, even when it's uncomfortable. People who achieve meaningful success aren't necessarily smarter or more talented than others, but they are more selective. They don't say yes to every offer, opportunity, or demand. They evaluate it. They ask, does this move me closer to my purpose? Is this aligned with the kind of life I want to build? If the answer is no, they don't apologize for declining. They understand that focus is not just about doing more. It's about doing what matters. When you start being more intentional with your time, some people won't understand. They may even be offended. That's okay. You're not responsible for managing their reactions. You're responsible for managing your life. You can be kind, you can be respectful, but you must be firm. No is a complete sentence. You don't have to over-explain or justify it with a long excuse. A polite, direct no is enough. The fear of missing out can also push people into saying yes far too often. There's a quiet panic that if you don't say yes, you'll miss your chance. You'll miss out on connection, success, or approval. But what's worse? Missing out on one opportunity or missing years of consistent progress because your focus was always scattered. The most successful people didn't chase every opportunity. They chose a few and went deep. When your calendar is filled with things that matter to you, not just everyone else, you begin to feel a different kind of energy. You feel purpose. You wake up with direction. You start noticing how much better life feels when you're not stretched thin and trying to please everyone. There's power in that kind of clarity. It lets you move forward with confidence. We've been taught to think that being available all the time is a virtue, that being constantly responsive is admirable. But availability isn't a badge of honor. It's a drain when not managed carefully. You need space to think, space to create, space to rest. That space won't appear on its own. You have to protect it. Saying no isn't just about turning things down. It's about making room for what deserves your full yes. That means being honest with yourself. Look at your commitments. Ask, if I didn't already agree to this, would I say yes to it today? If the answer is no, you need to reevaluate. Life is too short to keep doing things out of guilt or habit. You don't owe everyone your time. You owe yourself your best effort, your clearest focus, and your deepest attention. That only happens when you start treating your time like it matters, like it's limited, like it's precious, because it is. When you start guarding your yes, you begin building a life filled with intention instead of obligation. You begin to see real progress because you're no longer spread thin, you're centered, you're directed. And when you give your full yes to the right things, your life begins to change. Many people wait. They wait for the perfect moment, the perfect plan, the perfect confidence. They convince themselves that someday, when everything aligns just right, they'll finally begin. But that day rarely comes, because perfection is a moving target. It shifts and expands the more you chase it. The habit of waiting becomes comfortable, and before long, it turns into a way of life. There is a hidden cost in waiting that most people don't see until it's too late. Every moment spent waiting is a moment not spent growing. Every built on timing or conditions is really just a form of fear. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, or even fear of success. But here's the reality. Starting messy is better than waiting forever. Progress isn't born from perfection, it's born from movement. Waiting for everything to be perfect is a silent trap. It looks responsible, it feels cautious. You can even convince yourself it's smart, but it's still a trap. Life doesn't wait. Time moves on whether you act or not. The people who make real progress aren't the ones who have all the answers up front. They're the ones who are willing to begin without them. Starting where you are with what you have isn't a weakness. It's the foundation of growth. Every skill, every strength, every success begins with a first step that looks small, clumsy, or uncertain. The great achievements you admire didn't start as masterpieces, they started as attempts. Someone chose to begin despite the mess. That's the difference. Not talent, not genius, just the decision to take action. The conditions you think you need, more time, more money, more support, more clarity, those might help, but they aren't required. What's required is commitment. It's deciding that progress matters more than perfection. It's realizing that done is better than waiting to be ready. When you accept that you'll never feel 100% prepared, you free yourself to move forward anyway. You don't have to know the entire path to take the first step. In fact, most people only discover the right path after they begin walking. Action creates clarity. You learn by doing. You gain insight by trying. You grow stronger by struggling. No amount of planning or imagining will replace the lessons gained through real experience. And yes, you'll make mistakes. You'll stumble, maybe even fall. That's part of the process. The fear of getting it wrong keeps too many people stuck. But mistakes are not the enemy. Inaction is. You can recover from a misstep. You can correct course, but you can't improve something that doesn't exist. You can't fix what you never built. You can't grow what you never planted. The truth is, most people don't get stuck because of external conditions. They get stuck because they're waiting to feel a certain way. They're waiting to feel confident, inspired, fearless. But those feelings are the result of action, not the cause. You don't become confident by waiting. You become confident by doing the thing that scares you and realizing you survived. Momentum doesn't come from thinking about movement. It comes from movement itself. One action leads to the next. One step builds on another, and soon you're no longer trying to get started. You're in motion. And once you're in motion, something shifts. You feel more alive, more capable, more driven. That's when breakthroughs happen. That's when real transformation begins. Stop telling yourself that next week will be better. Stop hoping the fear will disappear. It won't. But you can act anyway. You can write the first page, make the first call, send the first email, build the first version, whatever it is. You can do it now, even if it's imperfect, especially if it's imperfect. Because imperfect action creates momentum, and momentum creates opportunities. When you're moving, you're visible. You attract ideas, support, and inspiration you would never find by standing still. People notice those who act. The world responds to energy, and energy comes from doing, not from waiting. The clock is always ticking, and the more time you spend waiting to begin, the more you train yourself to hesitate. Hesitation becomes a habit. So does action. The question is, which one are you practicing? You don't need perfect conditions. You need courage. You need to trust that progress is built on the willingness to try, fail, learn, and keep going. That's where the real growth is, not in flawless plans, but in the grit of starting anyway. It's easy to point the finger when life doesn't go the way we want. It's easy to blame circumstances, people, the economy, the weather, or the past. That kind of thinking feels good in the moment. It gives us an excuse, a reason to stay stuck without feeling guilty. But the truth is, as long as you keep blaming something or someone else, you're giving away your power. You're handing over control of your life to forces outside of you. And that's a dangerous place to live. Taking responsibility isn't about accepting blame for everything that happens. It's about recognizing that your response, your choices, and your mindset are always within your control. Life will throw curveballs. People will disappoint you. Plans will fail. But none of that defines you. What defines you is how you respond. The day you stop blaming is the day you start building. That's when real change begins. When you own your life, everything shifts. You stop waiting for someone to rescue you. You stop hoping the world will give you a break. Instead, you start looking at what you can do. What habits can you improve? What skills can you learn? What goals can you take action on today? That shift in focus from what's outside to what's inside is the foundation of growth. Excuses are comforting. They give you something to lean on when things get hard, but they never move you forward. They only delay the discomfort of doing the real work. The hard truth is, no matter how valid your excuse might be, it won't change your situation. It won't build your business, fix your health, improve your relationships, or move you closer to your goals. Action does that. Ownership does that. There's a moment in every person's life where they have to decide, am I going to keep blaming or am I going to start building? That moment might come quietly, may show up after another failed attempt, a painful breakup, a financial loss, or a rock-bottom experience. But when it comes, it brings clarity. It reveals that while you can't control everything, you can control enough to make a difference. When you take full responsibility, you no longer say things like, I can't because of them, or I would if only things were different. Instead, you say, what can I do with what I have? That question alone can transform your entire life. It takes the focus off what you lack and puts it on what you can control. And when you focus on what you can control, you find strength. You discover solutions. You begin to rise. People who take ownership don't avoid their weaknesses. They face them. They don't ignore their bad habits. They change them. They don't wish for luck. They work with discipline. That kind of mindset isn't always glamorous, but it's powerful. It doesn't need applause. It doesn't rely on external motivation. It runs on commitment. There will always be reasons not to try. There will always be people who seem to have it easier, but none of that matters if you're willing to put in the effort. Your story isn't written by your circumstances. It's written by your decisions. And every decision to take responsibility, even in the smallest way, writes a stronger, better chapter. Owning your life doesn't mean you won't feel fear or doubt. It means you act anyway. It means you accept that while not everything is your fault, your future is still your responsibility. That's not a burden. It's a gift. Because once you own it, no one can take it from you. You no longer need permission to grow. You no longer wait for things to change. You become the change. Some people will spend years waiting for their situation to improve before they take action. Others decide to take action so their situation improves. That's the difference between drifting and directing. One is passive, the other is powerful. And you get to choose which one you live. Taking responsibility doesn't guarantee immediate success, but it guarantees growth. And that growth creates opportunities that blame will never offer. You don't need everything to be perfect. You just need to start where you are, be honest about what needs to change, and take ownership of the process. That's how real transformation begins. Not through waiting, not through excuses, but through the decision to own your life. Every moment you spend waiting, blaming, or getting lost in the trivial is a moment you'll never get back. Time doesn't slow down for confusion, hesitation, or fear. It marches forward, with or without your participation. And the truth is, the future isn't something that just happens to you. It's something you create, one choice at a time. If you want real progress, you have to become intentional. That means deciding what truly matters to you and then protecting it with focus, discipline, and bold action. Not someday, not when it's easier, now. Because if not now, when? You don't need to wait for permission. You don't need the approval of others. And you don't need to have it all figured out. You just need the courage to begin. You know,